Right then guys, so it's just a case now of splicing a little bit more lead core and then tying a new rig up for it as well. So first things first is get a bit of this ESP lead core. Which we've got there. We've got the beginning of it there. We can bang that back on now. And we want roughly round about an arm's length, which is pretty much end of that life cycle of that. And then what we do with that then is perfect length, which is an arm's length, probably about 3 foot. So then we just pull that sheath back and we take out of it round about 2.5 inch. Snip that off and then we pull it back on itself, trying not to pull this end, because if we do we're going to pull it through that. So then what we do then is we try and come through, which that might be a little bit too wide, that one. It's about finding the right needle, splicing needle for a job. Now the ones off thinking angler are pretty good, but they break very easily, so it's and then you just come down it. Now I like to come down at least half the length of it, so then we come through there, come through the side there. Got that? Yep. So then what we do then is I want a quick link on this because I want the lead to be attached to a quick link. So we'll go with that one. So we attach that quick link through there before the splicer is done, and that will stop it pulling back on itself, and you're losing it if you pull too tight. It means that you're not gonna. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Lost you there for a minute. Right, you're back. Right, so now what we're doing is we just attach that gate over that very end bit, pull the gate over on itself, and then hopefully that will come back through on itself, gently teasing it through. And then that will leave us with a beautiful splice, which it has done. Now you need that really small splice at that end. Now, it don't really need no glue on it, I'll be honest with you, but I always like to dab it with glue anyway, so it's something I always do. Now, always test it. Solid. Right, so that's going nowhere. So what we do then is, what I do is, I like to just, making sure I'm not going to touch any of the sides, I like to just blob that. And then just flatten and dab it off like you would if you were doing a D-rig, no different. Right, so that's time now. That will be for the lead. The lead will be going on that. Now I've only got one rig. One rig tied up for this, so I do need to get one in place, to be honest. I think that I'm looking for a swivel that I've chopped. I'm looking for a lead that I've chopped the swivel off, but they're all in use, I think. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to come through with this and from this side, and then just clip that on. and that's going to give us that, which is a basic that end. So what we'll do now is we'll form the splice at this end. So again, around about 2 inch, and what we do is we just pull it out, boom, take that 2 inch lead core off, then from this end straighten it out. Because if you don't do that, what you'll find that when you pull it, your lead core might come through that side. So always start from the end you pulled it from. Now this, again, find out where your break is in your lead core, which is there. So we want to come in just above that, which is there. Up, through. Now I'll be a little bit further with this one because this is this top splice, and this one's most important one for if you crack off or anything. This is the bit that's going to be that you want in your rig to come off. So this splice needs to be mega small. So what we do it now is we come through this end again, through, latch over, oops, come off. Sometimes we'll do this to you. It sometimes takes a little bit of getting through, getting it caught right before you need it to be secure before you get it. Now I always put that through there for the simple reason of, if you don't, you can sometimes pull it through and you'll lose. Your splice will just pull through on itself, and in end you're not left with anything at all. So we get that to that stage now. Then we just pull it over and then gently just start teasing it back on itself. Now very, very slowly do this bit, because if not it can quite easily pull on itself and you'll lose it all. So what we do is we do it nice and slow. That is. We do it nice and slowly. Bringing it back through again. Now that's the splice now is through. Now you could actually leave it at that, but I don't like this tail end to come through on it. Now you've got to watch what you're doing here. So what I do is when I get to that point is I'll pull that through that end, and then I'll work with that through it. So I know it's not now. You see what I mean about that now? Is if I wouldn't have had that in there, then that splice there, it couldn't have been worked with because of the smallness of it. So what I do now is I pull it out that, and I just gently work it down. Now that is that's about the size of splice I want. Now any bigger than that, splice, I do not like. I think it's unsafe for fish, and you need that bead to come off that end. So it definitely needs to be a small splice at that end. So that's something just to check out. Now I noticed that one of my rods didn't have this on last time I went, and I was fishing with a lead clip, and I weren't happy with how it was sitting at all. It weren't sitting nowhere near as good as what the helicopter rigs were sitting. So again, we test it. It's going nowhere. And if this is not done right, then it's a death trap. It's a death trap for a fish if it's not done right. Now the thing what we can do now with this, if we wanted, is we could actually take the quick link off. Now the loop's being formed in it, we could take this off, because I can't find any leads without swivels on. I'm actually going to do away with this. I'm going to do away with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to there. We're going to try and find that back at it in there somewhere, but right, I'll find it another time. Right, so now we're left with splice at either end, which is pretty much what you'd buy if you're buying them. But what I'm going to do is, the lead that I'm wanting to use as light a lead as I can possibly find, to be perfectly honest with you. Which, it may well be that, which is a 2 ounce. So we may go with that. And what we're going to do with that now is we're going to come through. We're going to come through that now. So we're going to put the splicing needle through. Come through it. And grab it at this end. The gator over and then back through. And on itself to there. And then we go with what will be, I'm going to go back with the quick link that I've just took off and I dropped off in the bottom of there. I'm going to go back to that now, because if I use that quick link, it's going to mean that I can attach a PVA bag to it if I wanted to. Right, so I can wait for that. I'm going to try and pull that apart. And I'll show you what I mean by PVA bag in a minute. Ready to come round? Now we're back on that. So now we've got that. We're at that. So what we do is we pull the splice through. Boom. And then that takes us to there. Now it leaves a small little loop on bottom there. Now what I like about that is you can sometimes tie a PVA stringer to that and then back through on it. So I do like that little loop at the bottom there, so I'll leave that on. And now we're looking for a tail rubber if we've got any. I did have some, I know I did. And found one there. So what we'll do now is we'll come over that now, back through again, through, loop over, back down. Right. And that's give us that. And that's gave us that, which is perfect. A little bit loose actually. I'm actually gonna put a tail rubber on first. Feels a little bit loose, that's right. So I'm gonna come through with a tail rubber first. Then tail rubber down onto it. So all you're fishing with there is, if you wanted to, you could fish with an inline there, but the thing with that now is if you fish with an inline and the fish actually pulls that through, the lead core will come through, all the way through, and it will come off the lead, but the fish will be left trailing that big length of lead core, which is a dead fish. It's the reason that I've never ever fish in that style. It's just wrong. and then we go back over again with the original one we put on it. The only reason we doing that with tail rubber is it's a little bit loose. I didn't like how it was that little bit loose. So then now we can come over that now, down. Just wait for, and then down onto it. Further down, all the way down. And it's given us a nice tight fit like that. Which is just so much to cushion the uplink against when we do get to fishing a rig on it. And then the next step is to find a couple of tail rubbers. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll come through that. Let's see if we can find one. We'll get away with doing it other way. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come through that we want pretty much a dark bead, if we can get a dark bead. Yeah, bottom's really dark, so all we do then is we come through top bead, top of bead, and we'll pull it on. Right, now that's really loose now, that is. So what I'm going to try here is, you really need an anti-tangle sleeve, but I don't know where there is in there. Oh, I've got one here. There's one here. It's right there. So what we do now is, to make this safe, is, so we're at the stage now that we've spliced the bottom. We've got the lead on the bottom, and we've got the butt bead or a buffer bead at the bottom that's designed for this kind of fishing. Right, so that's gives you that. And then this next step is, this is the way I do it, just still do it this way. Right, the bottom bead is, it doesn't matter if you go through the side of that, it makes no difference. The bottom bead does nothing. It's not going to do anything wrong by going through the side of it. You're not, the fish isn't pulling from that end, so you do want a little bit of tension here. So I come through the side of the bottom bead. I still like a bead on, even though that's got that buffer there. It just means I can set it higher up. So I come through the bottom of that one, through the side of that bead, the bottom bead I come through the side of. It makes no odds at all. It's not affecting the fish safety in any way, that bottom bead. So it just means I can set it further up. If I want to set it up here, I can set it further up, away from lead if need be, or round about there. But that's never, even though that's not loose, it's not going to affect anything to do with fishing wise. And then your next step to make sure that the rig is safe is you want an anti-tangle sleeve. Now, the Corda ones are found at best. Now what you need to do is you need to cut about that's about 6-7 millimeter off it, off that, just a small piece. Right then, so then your lead's at this end, so we're going to the other end where the splice is, and what we want is we want the pointed bit of the bit of anti-tangle sleeve facing up away from the lead. So the lead that they sellers want this anti-tangle sleeve put in onto the splicing needle, the fin point first. So we go through the fin side of splicing anti-tangle sleeve, through that, and then we pull that onto a splice, and then a little bit of wet, and we pull it over onto his lead coat. Right, so that's that onto his lead coat, and it's nice and solid. Now that's perfect. So what we do then is we pull his bead on there, and we go through the actual hole in the bead. Now there's always, on these beads, there's always a large hole, and then on the other end a smaller sized hole. It's as though the board with a bigger hole and it goes smaller. So what you want to do is you want to go through the thin end of the bead and come out of the wider hole that way around. So you've got the smaller size hole on one side, bigger on the other. You want to go for a smaller size and then out. I can't see a thing in these glasses. And then out through the bigger end. The bigger end's at this end facing that. So now we pull that on and then pull the latch over, and the bead slides easily onto the leg core. Now that has to be, if you look at that, that's free running. That's the way we want it. It has to be like that. If not, it's not safe. Now what all this does is the little bit of anti-tangle sleeve that we just put on there, if we wet and we push the hole up to it, the hole just butts it, and the anti-tangle sleeve actually disappears into the actual bead itself. Now if there's a rig on that, which Blue Peter style, I've got an old one here from our fishing, I think this might have been using this. Still sharp. Right then, it's already sharp, that. So all we do with that now is we come through I'll just do this just to demonstrate how easily they come off. Now it's a lot of messing about actually doing these, but it's well worth it. It's definitely well worth doing. So all we do then is we come back through again with the anti-tangles, with the bead, through the fin hole again, out of the fig, pull it tight, back on, right, and then we click that down to that there, and then we pull that down, through it to there. So we're fishing at that. So that's the rig, the actual setup as I would fish it. Now, I did notice over there that the actual hook length may have been a little bit long. I don't know. I got it into my head that they're a little bit long. Even though I've caught two fish out of there, I've only fished it really 24 hour and a 48 hour, and on the 24 hour I noticed I was getting the odd burst of bleeps and then nothing at the end of it. Now that tells me a few things. It tells me definitely that more than likely my hook length was too long. Now I did sort that out towards the end. I did sort that problem out, and it's but by then, fish just looked like they were ready to spawn and what have you, so I just left. But that's pretty much how I've been fishing there. Now, what I do like about this as well, like I've just said, is you can always put a small piece if you want. You don't have to do this, to be honest with you, but you could do if you wanted to. You can always put a small piece of foam through the bottom, and then just nick that like that. If you wanted to be in a mindset that you're definitely going to be, if you're not going to be tangled if you're doing that, you know what I mean? But I use that more to attach PVA bags via PVA string. Now the way that top bead's set now is that if that lead were to come in, if this lead were to come tangled with anything whatsoever, it would grab hold of, and the fish would just move that, and it would pop that straight off. It would pop it straight off there, the leg clip like that, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. And now we're at the splice. Now all it'll take is a little bit of an head shake, and boom, all it's left with is that in its mouth. Now I would love to have seen other day one of the bailiffs that was on there. I would love to have seen his rig, to be perfectly honest with you, because he was going on about Steve a bit, saying that Steve lost the fish and this and that. Nah, I do get that, but I think there's ways of going round things without broadcasting it to anybody. I mean, I could have been anybody, you know. You don't go mouthing off people's rigs when you haven't seen them. And I've seen Steve's rigs. Steve went fishing with me for a while, and I talked him through a lot of rigs. Now I don't know if he's changed rigs since he's not been going with me or what, but if he's still using the same rig as he were when he was fishing with me, then he's fishing pretty much with the rig I've just shown you. So that's the spliced helicopter rig. I just needed one for next time I went, so I thought I'd video it. But that's the hinge rig that I fished with last time I went down there. Now it's come out of its curve a bit. I was fishing it far more curved than that, and it definitely did the business, you know what I mean? It definitely did. They said it's not nuisance fishing there, but I had a 10, so there's definitely nuisance fishing there. So that's how I fished it, pretty much like that, and it sat on the bottom like that. And it's really effective. It absolutely nailed them. So every fish I had's been nailed. So it's a nice rig, guys. It's a rig I've used for years as well. So now all I do with them is stick them back into that, and then that's it. So that's the hinge rig, guys, and the leg clip helicopter system.